everywhere. GBS.
A very good evening and thank you for joining GBS News at 9. My name is Stephen George and our sign language interpreter tonight is Paul Madenge. And now, George Nyangira Oduor, who served as a personal bodyguard to the former Prime Minister Odinga for a period of over 30 years, has today been eulogized as a servant who was determined and a humble man who had devoted himself into serving the former premier, risking his life to ensure that Raila Odinga is safe. George was eulogized by his family, Odinga's family and friends by extension, during a memorial service that was conducted at the House of Grace Church in Nairobi County. Davis Karani followed this memorial service and now bring us more on this.
It was a sad and a somber mood that covered the atmosphere during the arrival of the body of the late George Nyangira Oduor at his final memorial service in Nairobi County at the House of Grace Church. His family, friends and partners joining together to mourn a man who served as personal security to the former Prime Minister Raila Odinga. It is well, it is well. Memories told, experiences stated and his journey traced. The story of George was documented by those who had an encounter with him.
We as the ODM family are eternally grateful to George and his family for the sacrifice that he has had to give all these years that he has been in service with Mzee Raila Amolo Odinga. I want you people to consider the wild swings of the security environment around Raila Odinga. On one fine morning, you are in an African capital, saying hi to diplomats, greeting presidents, a very calm place. The next day, you have to get Baba into Kamkunji grounds, where there's thousands of enthusiastic supporters whose love for Mzee is itself a security risk. Then on the next day, you have to extract Raila Odinga from Embakasi South and a hail of bullets and tear gas. That is how wildly Raila's security environment swings. But we had a gentleman in George who in all those circumstances remained professional and always courteous.
He would mimic the days I used to report on television, Philip Etale, Citizen News. He would mimic that. He used to remind me, even when I long had quit media, George, I'll miss you.
A man who has served as ODM party leader's personal assistant was remembered for his loyalty to Odinga in every occasion that he was with him and having provided security to Odinga for over 30 years.
Many people knew George as Baba's bodyguard. But to us, he was not just Baba's aide. He was our brother. He was a true hero, taking care of Jacom and the family, saving our lives more time than we could count.
Georgie has been with us for very many years. And the person who introduced us to Georgie was our late brother Fidel. The two of them were very close together. Very close. And I'm sure if he was here, he would have had more to say than I have known.
We stand with you, Mama. We stand with the family. We stand with the family of Right Honorable Prime Minister Raila Amolo Odinga and the entire community. We shall be coming home to be with you and pray with you.
George will be laid to rest tomorrow at his matrimonial home in Indori, Bondo, Siaya County.
We have never seen a humble person like George. Our job is not an easy job, but George has always made it easy for us. Whatever I learned from George, the few days or the few years I've been with him is much more than what I've learned in my career of training as a police officer. May God rest the soul of George in peace.
The ODM party leader Raila Odinga and other national leaders are expected to join him in mourning the fallen hero. Davis Karani, GBS News, Nairobi.
Moving on swiftly, former Kakamega County Senator Cleophas Malala was early today released from the Eldama Ravine police station after having been arrested yesterday at night, following his contentious play Echoes of War, which was to be staged by Butere girls at the ongoing National Drama Festivals in Nakuru.
This is drama in a drama. The Butere girls will live to retell this story that has now unfolded before them. The young girls had gone to Nakuru to showcase their creativity and talent through a play, Echoes of War, written by former Kakamega County Senator Cleophas Malala. Then, hell broke loose yesterday at night after police officers blocked access to the place and arresting Malala.
Mnanishika nimefanya makosa gani? Nifungulieni, nataka kuenda bana. Ama mniambie nimefanya makosa gani? Kuandika mchezo wa kuigiza. Ambia DCI hao wafungue barabara. Mimi niende. Wanasema wananiarrest kwa nini? Wamefunga barabara kwa sababu yangu. Mimi mnajua vizuri sana mimi ndio mwandishi wa mchezo wa kuigiza wa Echoes of War.
The Butere girls then, in a fit of anger, involved the police in running battles, forcing the police to lob tear gas canisters on them.
With nothing, not even jackets, nothing. We sang our national anthem, and we said we are not performing without our rights. We are just mere our rights.
And early today, Malala, who was arrested in Nakuru last night, was released by the police from the Eldama Ravine police station.
Yesterday I was arrested by almost 50 police officers. I was taken around unknown places, and I've been detained at the Eldama Ravine police station for almost 12 hours. And they have not preferred any charges against me. I want to say that this is quite an unfortunate incident, an incident that infringes on our rights.
He maintains that he is so determined that he will seek the court's intervention to have the drama staged.
And today I walk out of these gates of the Eldama Ravine police station a very encouraged person. An encouraged person because of the acts that have been displayed by the young girls of Butere girls. They have exercised an act of heroic restoration. They are young girls who have shown the world that we are ready to change this country. I want to celebrate them. I want to say that whatever action is taken, I am determined to ensure that Echoes of War is displayed before a Kenyan audience.
Meanwhile, DAP Kenya leader Eugene Wamalwa, together with their lawyer Ken Echesa, were also blocked by the police from accessing the place early today.
Cleophas Malala. As of last night, Cleophas Malala was arrested here in Nakuru. He's a playwright of this famous play. And I am here with our lawyer, Ken Echesa, who went to court. And the court lifted the orders, stopping the government from blocking this play from going on. But here we are being blocked from accessing the play.
Orders apparently have not been respected. What then will follow is that we are going to cite all the respondents, including the PS Ministry of Education, for contempt of court. We also have international remedies. We can go to international court because children's rights are not a matter, just a matter of national.
Victor Ujing, GBS News at 9.
A stellar report there by Victor Odun. The government is set to introduce a new policy limiting the number of projects a contractor can bid for at once, aiming to tackle delays in national infrastructure. Deputy Chief of Staff Eliud Owalo has warned that contractors who fail to meet deadlines will face blacklisting. This move seeks to ensure faster project completion and greater accountability in the use of taxpayer funds.
The government is moving to curb delays in national projects by introducing a new policy that will limit the number of contracts a single contractor can bid for at the same time. The move follows concerns over contractors taking on more projects than they can handle, leading to widespread inefficiencies.
We are not going to allow a situation where certain contractors still cannot perform because they have spread themselves too thin by taking more jobs than they can absorb. And as government, we are going to come up with a policy framework, perhaps of restricting the number of projects within a given jurisdiction that a contractor can bid for at the same time.
Deputy Chief of Staff Eliud Owalo says the government has been fulfilling its obligations by releasing milestone-based payments, yet some contractors are still failing to deliver on time.
We are not going to allow a situation where the government has met its full part of the bargain by making the payments based on attainment of milestones as required, and yet the contractor still cannot meet their obligations in terms of delivery within the stipulated timelines.
Owalo also warned that underperforming firms will now face blacklisting and be barred from future government contracts.
Those type of contractors will be blacklisted and will be barred from taking up government projects in future.
The new policy, once approved by Cabinet, will tighten procurement rules and prioritize performance and capacity during contract selection. It is a firm step towards ensuring accountability, protecting public resources, and accelerating the delivery of key infrastructure projects across the country. Elvin Muyodi, GBS News.
The Ministry of Health has received 10,000 doses of the modified Mpox vaccine from development partners as part of efforts to control the ongoing outbreak, with 67 confirmed cases across 13 counties since the outbreak was declared in July 2024. The government is rolling out vaccine as an additional measure to combat the virus, alongside enhanced surveillance, the contact tracing and testing.
Kenya is set to begin rolling out Mpox vaccination in 13 high-risk counties, following the receipt of 10,700 doses procured through collaboration between the government and development partners. Public Health Principal Secretary Mary Muthoni emphasized that these vaccines are crucial in curbing the virus's spread, which has seen a significant rise since December 2024, with confirmed cases increasing from 32 to 68.
The decision to introduce the Mpox vaccine was informed by the worrying rise of Mpox cases over the last few months. As of today, the number of cases has doubled from 32 reported in December 2024 to 68 confirmed cases across the country.
The vaccination efforts are particularly focused on vulnerable groups, with many of high-risk counties being key entry points in the country.
Our role and responsibility to ensure that there is fair distribution of the vaccines so that they reach the most vulnerable communities and individuals in the society.
While the vaccination campaign is a vital step, development partners have stressed that it is not the ultimate solution, but part of a broader strategy to combat Mpox, which has affected several African nations. The vaccine is reported to be 82% effective when administered in 2 doses, 4 weeks apart.
And this vaccine we are receiving today has shown efficacy of up to 82% in reducing disease severity, transmission, and mortality, particularly among the vulnerable population.
There is hope that more vaccine doses will be delivered in the coming weeks as Kenya continues to engage with international partners to secure additional supplies and safeguard the population against further outbreaks. Teresa Tiengo, GBS News.
Well, we are taking a short break. Keep your feedback streaming into our social media platform at GBS TV Africa. The SMS line is 21144. We'll be right back.
My name is Tracy Otonde. I'm Miss County Nairobi, and I'm also Miss Embakasi East. Modeling is an art by virtue of the model and by virtue of the designers. That's if we look at modeling in terms of pageantry, you're showcasing yourself. You yourself is a work of art. You're a work of art, and you're showcasing everything that's in you and within you. And by virtue of the designer is because you keep showcasing the attires that they're made for you, and you have to look the part for you to be able to showcase what the designer was picturing. So yeah, modeling is an art.
Welcome to Fun Art Class. Today we are going to make a sailboat. First, you fold a triangle, a half. Friends, today we made a sailboat.
A student can transition from other curriculums, such as the Kenyan CBC curriculum, the Pearson EdExcel curriculum, and the IB curriculum, to the Cambridge curriculum.
Everywhere, GBS.
And welcome back. Now, a global funding crisis is threatening the lives of millions of children, with UNICEF warning that 14 million children could lose access to vital nutrition services. This comes as children face the combined effects of conflict, displacement, and climate change, putting them at greater risk of severe malnutrition and death. UNICEF has launched the Child Nutrition Fund, but urgent action from governments and donors is needed to protect children's health and future.
A global funding crisis is putting millions of children at risk of severe nutrition. UNICEF projects that 14 million children will face disruptions in vital nutrition services due to cuts in funding during a time when children are already affected by conflict, displacement, and climate change. This is exacerbating their vulnerability to nutrition and death. Despite significant progress over the past decades in reducing child nutrition, these funding cuts threaten to undo those gains. More than 2.4 million children with severe acute malnutrition.
Sector, electoral transparency, and stricter guidelines on political conduct in churches.
The National Council of Churches of Kenya, member churches in the Central Region, have urged the government to streamline the health sector and declare non-communicable diseases a national emergency. Delegates from Embu, Kirinyaga, Murang'a, Nyeri, Laikipia, and Nyandarua counties, led by Reverend Stephen Njogu, raised concerns over the rising cases of non-communicable diseases and called for a policy framework to protect lives.
We call upon the Ministry of Health to recognize that the prevalence rate, 25% of non-communicable diseases, warrant emergency focus. The strain non-communicable diseases are exerting on household and national health care is immense and needs to be addressed.
They commended the Ministry of Health for adopting the nutrient profile model and encouraged the Kenya Institute for Curriculum Development to include nutrition in the education curriculum.
We heartily commend the Ministry of Health for completing and development and adoption of an evidence-based nutrient profile model. The nutrient profile model sets standards for the nutritional composition of different food groups, and will serve as a crucial benchmark for reference by food producers, as well as enforcement of different laws and policies that regulate the food industry. We recommend that we teach nutrition at all levels. We encourage the Kenya Institute of Curriculum Development, the Kenya National Examinations Council, and all other education standards and examining bodies to include nutrition in their curricula.
The churches also called for reforms in the Taifa Care program, asking the Social Health Authority to ensure its benefit match or exceed those of NHIF.
It is therefore a great injustice to the people of Kenya that financing for health care has been progressively deteriorating since it was moved from National Hospital Insurance Fund, NHIF, to the Social Health Insurance Fund, and now to Taifa Care. We call upon the Ministry of Health as well as the Social Health Authority to radically reform the Taifa Care to make the benefits accrued to the subscribers better than, or at least equal to, the benefits they enjoyed under the NHIF.
On electoral matters, they criticized the addition of new candidates in the IEBC selection process, warning it could compromise credibility, and urged the selection panel to act swiftly and transparently.
Reports indicated that the panel and procedurally amended the list of short-listed candidates and added 6 names. This is a serious blow as it threatens to reduce the credibility of the process. We call upon the selection committee, the selection panel, to speed up the process and to ensure they act in a manner that inspires confidence.
Additionally, they instructed churches not to allow politicians to speak inside the church buildings, but only address congregants outside after services.
Keep politics away from our churches. Politicians should not be around to address the congregants inside the church and should instead speak to people outside the church building after the service. We will firmly demand that anyone who comes to the places of worship brings themselves under the authority of God and submit to the leadership of the presiding clergy.
Teresa Tiengo, GBS News.
KCB Foundation has flagged off 300 students into its annual university scholarship program. The students join 588 others under the program studying at different universities and colleges across the country.
We are about to kick off the official part of the program.
KCB has invested 100 million Kenyan shillings towards supporting these students all through the duration of the course they have qualified for at Kenyan universities, colleges, technical or vocational training institutions. This will cater for tuition fees for the entire course and regular mentorship for psychosocial support through the period of study. The students make the 4th cohort of the program, which was piloted in 2021 under KCB's annual education scholarship initiative. Under the program, 10% of the opportunities are allocated to people with disability and 50% slots for girls. This includes learners facing financial difficulties due to orphanhood, harmful cultural practices such as FGM, teenage mothers, as well as students from areas with high poverty indexes. Basic Education Principal Secretary Professor Julius Bitok noted that the government had made significant progress in the education sector through initiatives such as the 100% transition policy, the competency-based curriculum, and continued support for university and TVET education. It further stated that over 40 billion Kenyan shillings had been spent on
income tax system on the GovConnect platform to streamline tax compliance for landlords and property owners. This system, accessible via the eCitizen platform and API integration, aims to foster voluntary compliance by simplifying tax computation, filing and payment. Government officials, including Principal Secretary Dr. Chris Kipto and KRA Commissioner General Humphrey Watanga, emphasized the system's role in creating a fairer, more efficient tax system that benefits both taxpayers and national development while reducing administrative burdens. The electronic rental income tax system supports the monthly rental income tax, which applies to landlords earning between 288,000 shillings and 15 million shillings annually. This system system rate was recently reduced from 10% to 7.5%, effective from January 1st, 2024, demonstrating the government's commitment to ease tax burdens. In the 2023-2024 financial year, MRI tax revenues reached 14.4 billion shillings, reflecting a 5.2% year-on-year growth, indicating increasing compliance and the system's potential to significantly contribute to Kenya's development.
Ladies and gentlemen, it is important to note that in spite of the past efforts to enhance revenue collection, Kenya's tax revenue yield is still below the EAC tax revenue target of 25% of GDP. It is this year-on-year growth compared to a collection of 13.6 billion and 12.3 billion in the previous financial years, 2022.
Allegations of being favoring some people where a section of the staff is overpaid while others are underpaid or not paid at all. According to the motion, the CECM is also accused of perjury and violating.
Because as county government, we only have one system of payment. Payment is not done per department. So that I would say that cleaners that are working for trade will be paid at the trade. Cleaners that are working for lands will be paid at lands. That's why we have accounting officers who prepare these payrolls together with the accounting officers in governance and the accounting officer in finance, they process these payments. If there are those who have not received payments due to either the three reasons I've indicated, inactive account, closed account, or a dispute, especially if it's about closing accounts, inactive, or wrong numbers, then that reconciliation will be done against where the funds were taken. And that one is done through IFMIS and the bank account that received the money. I, as county's executive committee member, I will depend on the accountants and the accounting officer to give me a report on what has not been paid. In case I ask and they say there are things they are handling, then I wouldn't want to say that I'm incapable of doing that work, but I need to give them time to do the same. In the process that was being done, changes occurred. And when the changes occurred, and this function was changed from the Department of Trade, Cooperative Enterprise and Industrialization, and from Land Department to Governance, I want to state it here clearly. The handing over was done. Unfortunately, I want to believe that what was not completed was being done and it's in progress. And since now the changes have occurred, I may not give details on what has not been done or what has been done. But in the process, I happen to have been now the acting CC for governance. I was given an example that indicated that they have worked from April to October in terms of reconciling what has not been paid. I presented that before the assembly in good faith. I'm not going through frustration as I see, but it was there. And it was taken care of.
When taken care of?
The officer concerned was transferred.
Was transferred. So from then, things have been okay.
By that time, also there were a lot of changes that were happening in the county, and as I had explained, there were several municipals that were already being created, and there were several centers of employment. So all these were merged to create a committee.
It is time for us to take a short break. Keep your feedback streaming into our social media platform. At GBS TV Africa, the SMS line is 21144. We'll be right back.
today's topic is Rising Stars, young people who create, influence, and inspire. So
on an honest note, creating is hard work, and there are people who I see their work and they are constantly pushing themselves.
Okay.
Like wanajipush, kujipush, like they are putting creativity up top over there.
I think no one also prepares you for the fact that the better you become.
The networking is also very good. You see, there are people who have passion for, you know, videography, creating videos, editing. There are people passionate about that. If you are someone who talks and you meet people and you love people, you'll definitely meet someone who's just waiting to shoot you.
But also in terms of what I put out, it goes back to what are your values? What are your values? What are your beliefs? So as much as this is trending, yes, that is trending. Does it align with your values? Does it align with your beliefs?
You can be a star without the star position.
Aibu.
Si lazima ukue hapo mbele ya watu. Si lazima wewe ndo ukue star, ndo ukue star. Hata ukiwa hapa chini, wewe bado ni star. And as she has said, discipline is a big thing.
Anza wiki yako kwa njia sahihi kwa GBS Jumatatu.
Niko nawe hadi mida ya saa 4 asubuhi. Kwanza niseme asante kwa kuzidi kufuatilia na kutazama vipindi vyetu ambavyo huwa tunakuandalia hapa ndani ya GBS TV Jumatatu. People are now seeing the money that have been given to church as a bribe.
Jiunge nasi kila Jumatatu asubuhi kuanzia saa 1:30.
Nimesikia mwenzangu akifanya hesabu hapo ya vile ambavyo miungano zitakuwa. Ruto is going to fail whether with Raila or without Raila.
Kuna mahali anakosea akisema ati Raila na Ruto wataungana. Hakuna kuungana iko hapo, ndugu yangu, aje nikwambie ukweli.
Hadithi za kunoga.
Ukiangalia Wakenya, wananchi wa Kenya, pia hao maisha yao imedhulumiwa kwa kuongezwa kwa taxes, ziko very high taxes. So the statement by Rigathi Gachagua is just statement ya kumcheck that we can see you we can see between the lines.
Na mazungumzo yenye nguvu ya kukuletea utulivu kwa wiki yako.
Ati Raila ataingia UDA hapo
na hiyo ni ndoto mimi yote nasema hawezi, sababu nasema hivi mheshimiwa, ikiwa Raila
itakuwa, mimi naona itakuwa
hadi saa 4 za asubuhi kwa majadiliano ya kusisimua.
Mheshimiwa Rais William Samoei Ruto ajue ya kwamba sasa yeye ni president wa Kenya. Sio mambo ya kufanyia wana Kenya mzaha. Kupoteza biashara kwa siku moja katika CPD, nafikiria ni jambo ambalo ni rais.
Usikose, ingia kwenye GBS TV. Anza Jumatatu yako kwa kusudi.
If the government does not spend, my brother, hakuna maendeleo inaonekana. Hakuna barabara zinatengenezwa. Hakuna dawa kwa hospitali. My friend, economies will not grow.
Tuonane panapo majaliwa ya Mwenyezi Mungu.
GBS Jumatatu, palipo mjadala wa leo na mwelekeo wa kesho.
Everywhere, GBS.
And welcome back now to international news. The death toll from the tragic roof collapse at the Jet Set nightclub in Santo Domingo, Dominican Republic, has risen to at least 200, with over 200 individuals injured. Among the deceased are notable figures such as Provincial Governor Nelson Cruz and former MLB player Octavio Dotel and Tony Enrique Blanco Sabrera, and a singer called Ruby Perez, who was performing at the same time, was killed. The disaster occurred early Tuesday morning during the concert, leaving over 200 others injured. Rescue efforts have now shifted to recovery operations, with no new survivors found since Tuesday. Here's more on the story. Tensions between the U.S. and Iran have escalated with the relocation of several B-2 bombers to a U.S.-British base in Diego, fueling concerns. The bombers' movement is occurring after the rising hostilities in Yemen and ongoing discussions surrounding Iran's nuclear program. U.S. Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth commented that it is up to Iran to interpret whether the bomber deployment is a warning. Abdi Hamed reports.
6 B-2 bombers were positioned on the Indian Ocean island of Diego Garcia, a critical base for U.S. military operations. These bombers, which are among the most advanced and powerful aircraft in the U.S., are capable of carrying nuclear weapons and the Massive Ordnance Penetrator, or the MOP, designed to penetrate deep underground facilities. This strategic positioning comes at a time of heightened tensions, with the U.S. carrying out bombing operations in Yemen and increasing standoff with Iran over its nuclear program. Experts argue that the B-2 bombers are not necessarily needed in Yemen. Their advanced capabilities put them in an ideal position to target Iran's underground nuclear sites. U.S. and Iran will hold indirect talks via Oman this coming Saturday, as the U.S. and Iran stand on the precipice of potential military conflict. The deployment of such powerful military assets underscores the high stakes involved, yet it also highlights the fragile balance between deterrence and escalation. Iran might take drastic measures, such as expelling international atomic energy inspectors, if the U.S. continues to pose military threats. Reports have emerged that senior Iranian leaders are planning to move enriched uranium to undisclosed location within Iran as a method of deterrence. Can peaceful negotiation truly succeed, or will the mounting pressure force both nations towards confrontation? The world watches, hoping that diplomacy prevails before it's too late. This is Abdi Hamid Ali, GBS News.
China reaffirmed its stance on supporting peace efforts in Ukraine while also urging relevant parties to avoid making irresponsible remarks. This statement comes after Ukrainian President Zelensky's controversial comments about Chinese citizens allegedly fighting for Russia in the ongoing conflict. Here's more on the scene.
During a press conference, the Chinese Foreign Ministry spokesperson Lin Jian addressed Zelensky's accusations, which stemmed from the recent capture of 2 Chinese nationals in eastern Ukraine. Zelensky had claimed that Ukrainian intelligence had identified 155 Chinese fighting on the Russian side, with some allegedly recruited through social media. Lin emphasized that China is not a participant in the Russia-Ukraine war and strongly supports peaceful resolutions. He also urged all parties to refrain from making unfounded claims, stressing that China has always advocated for its citizens to avoid getting involved in any conflict zones. Today, US and Russian delegations arrived in Istanbul for talks aimed at normalizing their operations of their diplomatic missions. The meeting in Istanbul marks a critical step towards stabilizing the strained relations between the 2 nations. Despite these diplomatic efforts, overnight Russian drone strikes targeted Ukraine's capital and the southern city of Mykolaiv, injuring at least 12 people. In Kyiv, 2 women were reportedly injured, and the attack also caused significant damage, including a fire at a storage facility and the destruction to residential buildings. Meanwhile, the US and Ukrainian officials are set to engage in consultations in Washington on Friday, focusing on potential mineral deal. While these diplomatic efforts may offer a glimmer of hope, the backdrop of ongoing violence in Ukraine serves as a stark reminder of the complexities involved in resolving this conflict. The road ahead will require not only negotiations, but also a deeper commitment to peace and understanding among global powers. This is Abdi Hamid Ali, GBS News.
It is time for your most favorite segment of the show, the sports news. Let's get sporty. Tensions are rising ahead of Thursday's Europa League quarter-final between Lyon and Manchester United as Nemanja Matic criticized United goalkeeper Andre Onana, calling him one of the worst goalkeepers in the club's history. The comments come after Onana claims United is way better than Lyon, fueling an already intense rivalry ahead of the big match.
Ahead of today's Europa League quarter-final between Lyon and Manchester United, Nemanja Matic sparked controversy by calling Andre Onana one of the worst goalkeepers in United history. Matic, who played for United from 2017 to 2022, responded to Onana's comment that United was way better than Lyon, questioning Onana's credibility given his performances since joining the club in 2023. Matic pointed out that if legends like David De Gea or Peter Schmeichel had made similar comments, they would have been taken seriously. Instead, he dismissed Onana's remarks, highlighting his struggles at United.
You know, I respect everyone, but to say that, then you need to get the answer. If you are one of the worst goalkeepers in Man United history, you need to take care what you are talking. You know, if David De Gea or Peter Schmeichel or Van der Sar say that, then I will question myself. But if you are one of the statistically the worst goalkeepers in Man United modern history, then you know he needs to show that before he says so. We will see.
Despite the criticism, Onana has experience in European competitions, having reached the Champions League final with Inter Milan in 2023. This rivalry is now more intense, with both teams eager to prove themselves on the bigger stage. Elvin Muyodi, GBS Sports.
We have come to the end of the news bulletin. It is always a pleasure having you on board. Let's do this again, same time, same channel. We make your news our business. My name is Stephen George, and our sign language interpreter tonight has been Paul Madenge. Good night.
Everywhere, GBS.